Hey all, how are you? I'm Daniel Agapito here with the Marshall Times, and today I have the honor of being here with Sean, drummer of Kardashev. How are you, Sean?
I'm great, man. How are you?
I'm great as well. So, for you guys that don't know, Kardashev is this incredible progressive death gaze, deathcore, death metal band out of Arizona, and they will be releasing their new album Alunea through Metal Blade next week on the 25th. So, yeah, Sean, how have things been, man?
Yeah, it's been great. I mean, we've been having a lot of fun just getting the album ready for release, releasing singles, kind of seeing everyone's reaction to what we've been cooking up over the last couple of years. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. We're really looking forward to people hearing it.
Mm. And how's the fans' reception of the new stuff been so far?
It's been really strong so far. I mean, I don't think we've ever had um, this good of performance on a YouTube video for a new single. Our Spotify plays have been blown up higher than they've ever been before, and of course, just like lots of great messages and comments. So yes, people seem pretty psyched so far, which obviously we want. So yeah, we're happy.
Yeah, that's great to hear. The two singles you guys dropped are absolutely amazing. I've had a chance to listen to the whole album already. It is incredible. Definitely one of the album of the year candidates so far.
Thanks, man. That's high praise. Really appreciate that.
Yeah, so to get started with the questions, you guys are considered one of the like pioneers of the death gaze sound, blending both like the weight and the heaviness of death metal with the atmosphere, the subtlety, the nuance of shoegaze. Could you like take us through your current sound, like in general?
Yeah, so we've definitely departed a little bit from I'll say the stock death gaze sound that people kind of know us from, like with the album, the Almanac, for example. It's much more obvious with the different elements of death metal being blended with sort of the more beautiful ambient shoegaziness. I think on the new album we still keep a lot of those elements, but we've also um, been drawn towards a little more technicality maybe isn't the right word, but there's more riffs. There's more riffs on the new album, so it's kind of more of a blend of this sort of like modern death metal sound with sort of the death gaze vibe that we've kept. And that's been kind of just like a natural progression, just to sort of keep ourselves interested as well. Like we're always looking for maybe not new ways, but just sort of like honest ways to to write and be artistic and sort of express ourselves.
There's also like some touches of prog in the album, some progressiveness, right? Like, was there anything that specifically motivated this like sonic pivot, or was it just like something natural, this change in sound?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think it's just something natural. We approach songwriting in a way that kind of leaves all avenues open. Um, Nico, who's the I'll call Nico the heartbeat of the band. He's the main driver behind everything. He's got a very open approach to like no idea is a bad idea, and we'll try out anything and test anything out. So whenever we're writing music, every single song is kind of a blank slate, a blank canvas, and no ideas are off the table. So we're not really coming into it with a structure saying it needs to have, a verse, chorus, and a bridge, and a verse and a chorus, and whatever. It's more of just here's an idea of a song, and then let's just see what feels good and let's see where it goes. And often a song will kind of take a very meandering path where it'll start one way, it'll start with one kind of structure, and by the time we're done writing it, and by the time we're done collaborating and throwing our ideas at the wall and seeing what sticks, it's a very very different beast. And so sometimes it's more of a traditional structure, but in most cases it's almost like the song wanted to go a different direction, and that direction wasn't really a straight line. It was kind of zigging and zagging all over the place. And one thing that you'll notice with us is uh, we'll often play parts once and we won't necessarily come back to them ever again. It was just kind of like a stop along the way. And it's not really necessarily intentional. It's just how it results from that sort of non-linear songwriting process that we have.
Yeah, yeah. Like everything just flows, right? It's just it goes and yeah. And something that you specifically said that really caught my attention, I think I found it in the promo doc or some article. You said that our music attempts to sonically portray the emotions of anger and sorrow, which creates a palpable but natural dynamic contrast. Could you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, well, I I think that anger and sorrow are kind of two almost like two parts of the same of the same emotion. I think that anger is like the more active piece of sorrow. Sorrow is it can be a negative emotion and it's very powerless, and anger can be a negative emotion but it's very empowered and like I'm going to do something about it. And so I think that anger and sorrow go hand in hand. They go very very well together. um and they're things that every single person in humanity experiences on a regular basis. And so I think it's the most honest, reflection of humanity, and it's probably one of the most it's the most uniting, or they are the most uniting emotions I think of the human experience in general. Is like whether we agree on anything or not, we can agree that we regularly experience anger and sorrow, and some of us are able to portray those in positive ways, and some of us are not. But at the end of the day, it's part of being human, and so I think that that's why our music, for people that it resonates with, it generally tends to resonate with them like pretty strongly.
Hmm. And like lore wise, thematically wise, from what I could gather, Alunea is basically a sequel to the Almanac, with its main character meeting this character that was created in Continuum, a track from your first EP. Could you like give us some insight into the story of Alunea?
Yeah, so I I am not necessarily nearly as well versed in the story as Mark, for example, who has written the story. But suffice to say, it's a continuation of the Kardashev mythos in general, with with Atlas and Kent, or I'm not going to go into detail because I'm going to butcher it. It's very deep. It's very in depth. But essentially, a lot of thought has been put into the story, and we took a departure from the story for the EP, The Bearing of Shadows, and for our last album, Liminal Right. And we'd always felt that the story itself hadn't been completed, hadn't been fully told yet, and I don't think that it still has been fully told yet, which leaves room for more chapters of it. But we definitely agreed that we wanted to head back to that and sort of tie things together sonically in some ways. Like you'll notice some sonic callbacks on this new album, that weren't on the previous two, like on the previous EP and the previous full length, because it had nothing to do with those with the Kardashev mythos. But this one does. So we do some sonic callbacks. We also do a number of lyrical callbacks as well, and just sort of conceptual callbacks, just sort of tie it together and sort of give the feeling of the continuation of the overall lore and the overall story
Hmm.
of Atlas and Kent.
Yeah, and for those fans that didn't really follow the last two releases, what were they about?
So there was the Bearing of Shadows and Liminal Right. Now, the Bearing of Shadows was essentially it was an EP, and every single song was rooted in the concept of grief and the idea that grief kind of unites us all. No matter who you are, where you are, we all experience grief, and we all have space and understanding for others' grief as well. And so there's four different parts to that, four different ways to experience grief, and they were all um, very sad and kind of brutal explorations of humanity experiencing grief. And then Liminal Right was fully a concept album of a man returning to his childhood home, or his birthplace, and kind of realizing that it wasn't really how he remembered it, and kind of the deterioration of he himself, whether it's due to dementia or something else, and sort of the exploration of how our memory doesn't necessarily tell an accurate story.
Hmm. And Bearing of Shadows was released during the pandemic, right? Or like right at the start, something like that.
Yeah, it's hard to kind of remember and go back. It feels like it's been so long, but yeah, it's right around that time.
Yeah, yeah. Dealing with grief, like some very precise timing, basically, right? But unintentional, right?
Definitely unintentional. Yeah, we didn't have any part in starting COVID, but yeah, it seemed to resonate really strongly and hit just at the right time, just as people were probably wondering, what does the rest of what does the rest of the world look like? Do I ever get to come out again, or are we all going to get sick and die? Mourning the loss of freedom, etc. So yeah, when that EP came out, I think that it hit people just at the right time when they were ready to sort of consume something like that and also just really commiserate, I guess, in some ways.
Yeah, well, some tough times out there. And it's said that about the final track of the album, Below Sun and Soil, you guys were challenged to keep the spirit of Pillars of Creation, the track that closes off Progression, your 2012 demo. It's pretty much like a full circle moment, no?
Yeah, that's another callback for sure. Just something that we really like to do. Want to sort of keep that sort of those thematic elements going.
hmm And how do you guys like manage to keep calling back to a bunch of different albums? Like your guys' mythos is very expansive currently, like some huge stuff. How do you guys manage to do that so well?
I would credit most of that to Mark. Mark is the keeper of the mythos and generally or fully the one who basically created it. He's the creator. He wrote the lore. He wrote the story. He's the one who created the language that we use that we actually call Alunea, which is the name of the album. So he's put a lot of time and thought and heart into sort of crafting the story, crafting the narrative, creating the language. And so whenever we're trying to figure out how pieces fit, he's the one who has those pieces because he's the one who actually created and wrote all of those pieces.
hmm
He's expanded it to the point where it's not really something that I can fully keep track of because there's so much nuance to it, and so I don't even try anymore. I just appreciate it for what it is. But if you were to ask me and you have for the details, I'm not going to be able to tell you.
And could you like just briefly touch on Alunea, which is this language you guys use? I found that to be one of the most interesting things a metal band has done in quite a while.
Yeah. So I think Mark actually came up with it around the time that we were well. And when I say we, I wasn't a part of the band yet, but when the band was writing and releasing the almanac, and so it's called Alunea, and it's classified as a conlang or a constructed language, and I believe this is similar to how Tolkien created languages for like the elves and such on Lord of the Rings. And I think it's definitely a very unique storytelling device and a way to sort of separate us English speakers from whoever in the story is not of Earth or what have you, right? Is we have this completely other language that you couldn't know unless you've actually learned it from us. And one thing that's actually super super cool about that is so we have some very very dedicated fans, and some of these fans have gone to the lengths of fully learning and understanding Alunea, and Mark has said that they actually can speak it better than he can, and they're almost like the keepers of the language. They know how to pronounce it. They've sent us audio clips of them speaking it, and it sounds like somebody from another country speaking a different language. It's quite wild.
Damn, damn. Yeah, and keeping in line with this fan stuff, fan connection, the new album has two guests, Aaron doing vocals and Pavel playing the duduk on the seventh track. And apparently you guys found him in your Discord server, right? How was that?
Yeah, so we've got a number of people within our Discord server that we collaborate with in different ways, and so he was one of them. And I don't remember exactly how it came to be, but we're very open about sharing demos with people in our enlisted travelers group, which is kind of like it's like our Patreon group. And Nico, the band leader, he's very very collaborative and very very community based. So often he will just put out a call saying, "Hey, we're looking for some ideas here. What do you think would sound good here? Or does anybody want to take a crack at collaborating on this?" And every now and then we'll get a submission that just seems to land and seems to be what we're looking for and seems to work. And so this was one of those.
Yeah, yeah. And let's talk a bit about the album cover. You guys have a very deep story, setting, characters. How did you guys make sure that Carl, your artist, which you have collaborated with a few times before, three, if I'm not mistaken,
Mm-hmm.
how did you guys make sure that his visuals would line up with everything you guys established?
Yeah, he's been working with the band for a number of years. He's a fan of the band. We have a good relationship with him, so he just really understands. He understands the overall aesthetic and the vision of the band, and so the communication of ideas isn't difficult. He just kind of gets it. And again, I think having this really in depth lore and this mythos to sort of support and give the vision to what we're trying to accomplish really really helps. So in essence, we kind of come with a full creative brief just because of who we are as a band, and so I think it just really helps to make a more cohesive product.
Hmm. And I was reading a bit about your like production process and writing process, and not only is it very collaboration based, it also used a lot of technology. You guys said that you don't use acoustic instruments anymore, basically just the guitars and the vocals, a bunch of VSTs, and specifically in your case, you've been collaborating remotely with the band. You're in Canada, the rest of the guys are in the US. How is that working out for you?
Yeah, it's great. So we've been writing and recording this way ever since I joined the band to record the Bearing of Shadows, and the way that I collaborate with the band and the way that we sort of write music together, it's very back and forth. And so when we're working on a song, we're sending demos to and from each other in our private Discord that we have multiple times a day. And so we don't want there to be anything that will get in the way of our speed, because when you have an idea and then you hear someone else's idea, then you want to add to it, and then you want to get feedback, and you want to keep on going back and forth. So what works the best for us and what's been super super easy is I have electronic drums, V drums, and I basically just track my MIDI performances. And so I will Nico will say, "Hey, here's the bones of a song," and then I'll listen to that. I'll think, "Damn, I can already hear what the drums would sound like towards this." And then so I'll pop down to my studio and just jam along to the song for 20, 30 minutes, see where I think it's going to go, and then I'll just track an idea, and it's done within 5 minutes. I send it over to them, and then they listen to it and they go, "Oh, no, now that you've done that, what if we were to add this and this, and then the next part would be that." And then it's just very we're piecing it together sort of like live on the fly in a way that if we were really really married to the idea of having to use like acoustic drums every single time, or miking amps and stuff, we just wouldn't be able to do. It allows us to just be really really fast. And in terms of the creative process, for me personally anyways, I find that my creativity comes in bursts, and I need to take advantage of it when it hits. So if my creativity is there and I don't take action, it's gone.
Hmm.
And so I want to make sure that I'm able to act quick, and the band is able to act quick. And so I think that's just been sort of our adoption of technology has been integral to sort of take advantage of our ability to sort of be creative on the fly, and be really 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 quick, if that makes sense.
Hmm. And how has all of that been translating into the live show context?
Yeah, so we weren't sure how that would work, because uh, we've essentially always been a studio band. We we signed to Metal Blade during COVID when nobody knew if touring would ever come back. So there's no touring in our contract. We're essentially just a studio band. And when we were given the opportunity last year to play at Euroblast in Germany, we all said, "Well, do we think we can do it? We've never actually played live in this configuration before." And we said, "Screw it, let's do it. Let's not pass up this opportunity." And so we all practiced, by ourselves. And then when we met in Germany, we had a rehearsal space booked for 2 days, and so we rehearsed for 2 days, and then we got on stage and we played. And what we found is, because we had gotten so good at collaborating creatively, and we all shared the same vision, the minute that we started playing in that rehearsal space, like the chemistry was instant.
Uh,
It's like we had always been practicing and playing together, just because of the shared vision and the shared idea. And of course, we all know the songs very 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 well. So it ended up going really really well, and it kind of gave us the itch to do more festivals, because the actual live performance itself, it honestly could not have gone better, especially for the fact that we had never done this as a band before, and never, when we started out, never expected to do this. It went amazingly.
mhm. So we could be seeing some more Kardashev tours, some more Kardashev live gigs in the near future.
Realistically, no tours, just because we're too spread out. But we are open for business when it comes to festivals. So if any festival promoters are taking note right now, let's do some festivals.
Hmm. And going back to the tech stuff, I have to ask, what about the use of AI in art? What do you guys think about that? What do you guys think of AI? There's some bands that are using
Yeah,
AI, kind of controversial covers and stuff. What do y'all think?
the use of AI in art. So this is it's a really interesting conversation. And I mean, I for my day job, I use AI very exclusively. There's almost nothing that I do that AI doesn't touch. So I have a lot of different thoughts on this. But in terms of AI in art and AI in music, I think that AI can be a very, very powerful tool to get ideas out. Very, very powerful tool for ideating, for uncovering new ideas, new paths. I do think that in terms of art, I think that art should still ultimately come from a person. And for that, I mean, for the final product, I don't think that it's necessarily very honest to release a final product as if it was created by a human when it was actually created by AI. But I think it's perfectly fine for AI to have played a part in your creative process to help you get there, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Now, there are certain instances where I think that AI being a part of the final product is okay because I think there are very artistic ways to use it. Like the new Igor music video, for example, is straight AI and it's absolutely incredible. And I don't know about you, but I've spent probably thousands of hours at this point using and prompting AI and creating things with AI, and I have no idea how they're able to do that level of continuity and quality, and it's just incredible. So their use of it in itself is still an art, and so there are always going to be fringe cases, and I don't like how some people will just blanketly say AI is good or AI is bad. Well, no, it's like what's the spirit of the use? Are you trying to use AI just so that you don't have to pay an artist? If so, I think that's kind of bullshit. Like pay an artist, but maybe use AI to help you understand what you want the artist to do, but then get the artist to do it because
Yeah.
that's going to be the most honest thing.
Hmm. And as we've established, Kardashev has this very expansive mythos, some very complicated stuff. And nowadays, with like social media and algorithms and playlists and whatnot, people's attention spans have been dwindling, basically. Is it still like feasible to release these huge pieces of art nowadays, in your opinion?
I think it is. I think that they appeal to a much smaller group of people, but I also think that we're in an age where I think there's a lot more value in going deep rather than going broad. So we're taking the approach of going deep. The people who get it love it, and the people who don't have time for it doesn't matter. Like you do you. Just we know that if the right people find what we're doing, they're going to love it, and those are the people that we care about.
Yeah. And now, last question here. Kardashev has been pretty much a very dynamic, very evolving band so far. Is it even possible to say where you guys envision yourselves in the next like 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, I think it's impossible to say. I hope within the next 5 to 10 years we're playing a number of festivals. There will definitely be more music on the way for sure. Although what that will sound like and when I definitely can't say because we're just trying to get this next album out. But suffice to say, there's still a lot more. A lot more of the story to be told, and there's a lot more music for us to write. So there will definitely be more.
Yeah. And that's it for me, man. So now, balls in your court if you want to leave any final words, any final message, anything you'd like to share with the Marshall Times audience. It's up to you.
Yeah, for sure. So nothing specific. Just I hope that everybody checks out the new album, and I hope that everybody engages with us. If you want to, talk to our fans or also speak to us directly, hop on the Discord. We're very very community based, and we really like to talk to our fans. So uh, yeah, hope you love the album.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for your time, Sean. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And yeah, go check out Alunea next week, 25th, on Metal Blade Records.
This episode is copyright The Moshville Times, introductory music by Elliot Alderman Broom, and any music used throughout the episode is copyright to the original performers and creators.